And we are ready. Perfect. Okay. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I see some of my favorite ladies here, which I'm so excited, and a couple of new faces. So thank you for joining me today on one of my favorite topics, which is building community, creating raving fans. And so my intention today is to break this down so that it's really simple, and it hopefully inspires you to go out and build your own community, or see how you can leverage a community that you may be working in already. And so I just want you to know that you don't have to build your own community. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a fun and easy way. But you can also be a part of a community. Many individuals have joined Women's Prosperity Network or CEO Space, or there's the Dames. There's so many amazing communities out there. So just find what works for you. And really keep in mind, as I'm sharing this, that whatever you choose, these principles will work there. And so they say men and women who practice the foregoing instructions will certainly get rich, that the riches they receive will be exact proportion to the definition of their vision, their fixity of their purpose, and the steadiness of their faith, and their depth of gratitude. So as you're doing this is going to be key. So a little bit about my background and kind of what got me really passionate about this is my mom at a young age actually kidnapped my brother and sister, and left me with my adopted father. Hold on, I'm letting people in here as we're going along. And he became depressed being alone and not knowing how to manage. And I ended up in a foster home. And this home had 5 other foster kids. And the love and the sacrifice and bringing me in as a perfect stranger was an incredible experience to understand kindness and humility. And my dad's commitment to getting me back and getting back on track taught me resilience. And so I learned how to love people and to turn around our lives and overcome anything to have a fresh start, and the power of community and really loving those that you may not know exactly. All right, let me get started here. So those of you that are not familiar with the business, okay. I left my cord at a hotel room, and I'm on a short cord. So if I'm twisting and turning now, did we let Amanda in here? Hold on just a second.
Yep.
We do. Okay, good. There we go. Perfect. So we're a trailblazing community of conscious business owners who are here to make an impact. We're reinventing community in entrepreneurship. And we're doing this through collaboration and community. And I love to share some of our core, no, it looks like it skipped this next one. So I'll just read it to you. Our core values: we strive to create win-win-win to make a difference for us, others, and the environment, to elevate and accelerate positive impact. We focus on people over profits. So today, my intention is to accelerate your growth, have fun, and we learn how to make lots of money doing it. We're going to go through the 5 C's. I'm going to share some stories and really talk about how to implement this in what you're doing right now. And then at the end, we're going to do, we'll go into our mastermind, or a time to meet and connect with each other, because really that's where the magic is who we have here in the room. I'm seeing some incredible people that you definitely want to meet. So our 6 core accelerators, and it's important when you get into community to really know what do they stand for? What are they up to? If you're building your own community, coming up with whether it be your signature piece that you're doing or how you work is really powerful. So what we do at the Business Acceleration Network is we help you master your elevator pitch. We teach you to collaborate in joint venture, and we love doing events like this is where this is the opportunity to be able to do that. We like to help you build your team of mentors, coaches, individuals that have been there, done that, have gotten the battle wounds that can help you along the way so that you can avoid them. We believe one of our core principles is that we treat everyone as if they're significant. We treat everyone as if they're the most important person that is essential for our next step in our business. And we believe in giving first. We also mastermind our goals and challenges. This is not a new principle. This has been around, I believe, they did it in biblical times when they did the Last Supper, but Napoleon Hill talks about it in Think and Grow Rich, and how, any problem or any goal, if you get a group of people together and you focus on that shared vision of resolving it or taking it to the next level, that things can happen. If you have not, how many of you have read the Think and Grow Rich book? If you can just put a yes or a thumbs up in the chat, that would be great. This is a Napoleon Hill. Perfect. Thank you, Tony. If you haven't read it, this is out of copyright. Oh, good. We got a lot of you that have read it. This is such a really powerful book that if you don't know, Andrew Carnegie came to America with pennies in his pocket, and he became a multimillionaire with U.S. Steel in a short time. And he didn't understand why he was able to do this, to have nothing and to create something so incredible in a short period of time. And so in this, he hired Napoleon Hill to do a 20-year study of average people and extremely wealthy people. And there's a lot of principles in there that he found, but one of them is we talked about the mastermind principle. The others is sometimes it's better to have a little bit of a lot than a lot of one or two. He also talks about that most people are going to retire like 97% dependent on somebody else or their government. And as you guys know, my goal is to really help everybody that gets in touch with us to be independent. So if you haven't read Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, it's a great book to get. And then we teach people how to create media magic. And that is essential in your community as you're building it to grow. Hi, Joyce. How are you? Let me go ahead and get out of here because now we're going to get into the principles. Yay, look at these beautiful ladies. Oh my gosh, is there all ladies here today? Do we have any? Well, we have Yang, I call Master Yang. He is on my team and he is my rock. Thank you, Yang, for being here today. He shares some great things. Yang, do you mind sharing our event link if you would be so kind? We do free webinars every month. We love building communities, so we invite you to check out our monthly events that we have going on. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing with building community is connection. You want to make connection. You want to look at, ideally, is there a community? First, do you want to build your own community? Which I encourage each of you. You are building your own community. If you have an email list, you have a community. It may not be, like the Business Acceleration or some of the other ones that we mentioned in the beginning, but if you have an email list and you're building clients or building followers, then you do have that. But I also invite you to look at other communities that you want to be a part of. Where are individuals that have those shared visions? Where are organizations that you want to support? Maybe there's organizations that you already support. What brings you joy and passion that you can easily connect with others and be able to grow and be a part of community. It could be your church, it could be your synagogue, it could be various aspects of connecting. Facebook is a way of connecting. So the idea of connect is to be really intentional and identify where are communities that you're going to invest your time and energy in making those connections. If it is social media, how are you making those engagements? How are you making those connections if that's where you choose? The second thing is to look at, I believe that we want to get clear on our personal cause. What is it that we stand for? Clarity leads to power here. So what's the, I say cast your vision. You want to be really clear in whatever community you step into. What do you stand for? And many of you have heard mine. I stand for people not being alone. I want people to feel that they're supported, that if they're alone, it's because they didn't ask for help or they didn't step into community. So that's one of my causes. And then the other one is young entrepreneurs. I am so passionate about helping young entrepreneurs, even people that don't know, young individuals that don't know they want to be an entrepreneur, navigate life and navigate these decisions they're having to make, and really feel like they're not alone and that they can do it together. So those are two causes, and when we can cast our vision and we can cast what we stand for, that becomes our magnet. And so if you're building your community, it's really important to constantly cast your vision. And I kind of learned this the hard way. Many of you know I had an organization that I ran for over 10 years called Conscious Living Partnership, where it was like a chamber of commerce for people that were into holistic health, personal development, green building. We were in 19 states, and it was incredible the impact that we had. We did hundreds of events. But at some point, I stopped casting the vision. I would go to events and I was like, oh, everybody's heard this before, right? And I just stopped saying it. And I watched the attendance from events go down and trickle and trickle and trickle. And it was like, even though everybody needed it, it was like, I realized that when we cast our vision and we do it quickly, clearly, and concisely, people get something that they can attach to. People get something that they can get excited about. People get something that they can repeat, that they can share with others. So no matter if you've been doing it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, always cast that vision. It could transform, right? But you're always casting your vision. I'm here with Katie Wagner, and Katie Wagner has 3 books. I know that she's to help people move from grieving and loss to joy and living life again. I know Dr. Yulwin is really passionate about leadership and helping people navigate in a new way of leadership and where they're going, and doing this in a mindful way with what we talk emotional intelligence. And she's best at navigating it. I'm getting ready to do her press release, which I'm so excited about. But there, each of you have that cause, that your mission that you're here to do. So really get clear on what that is and continue to cast that when you're meeting with people, cast that in your emails, anywhere that you can cast that vision. That's important. The next thing which goes into this is communication. You want to be able to communicate what you're doing. And right now we are so overloaded with communication. We have social media, we have various things. And I just talked to a client last week, and they were telling me we did a bunch of work together. We were getting very large number of people, and then our contract ended, and I trained them and gave them everything. And they said, our attendance has really dropped. And I said, well, how are you sharing it? Well, we're sharing it in email. And I said, okay, have you checked your stats on email? No, we haven't checked our stats on email. I'm like, well, do you know that when we did it, we did text, we did phone calls, we did emails, newsletters. When we're communicating, we have to understand that right now, an email doesn't always get through, right? It can get in spam. There's all kinds of things. Phone calls, sometimes people are busy. They don't get it right away. Text seems to be really important, or really, people tend to look at that, but sometimes they may be busy and forget about it. So the more we can come up with that clear communication plan, the better. And if you're working in another community, find out all the ways that they communicate. Do they have a social media group? Do they have a newsletter? Really get engaged in the communities that you're a part of, in their communication. I can't tell you how many times I've been a part of an organization, or I know people have been a part of an organization, and I missed something that's essential because I wasn't plugged into how they communicate. So really, once you identify those communities, where you're going to connect, figure out how they communicate and get involved in that communication. Be active with that. If you guys have questions as we go along, please post those in here. I think I'm happy to answer as we go along. The fourth thing is collaboration. To be a part of a community, part of that magic is collaborating, finding out ways that you can give, finding out how, what are areas that you can be active, where can you collaborate. If it's your own community, this is where it takes some foundation building. And this is where, I think it's essential to come up with your code of honor. How are you going to operate? How are you, if collaboration is a part of it, you create collaboration by creating your code of honor and sharing that with others. Many of the strongest organizations, they're really clear on how they, what's their code of conduct. Many of you have heard how we deal with conflict and what our mission is. And so when you get clear on your code of honor and you share that with your community, that really helps them, again, align at another level. The other thing is creating the agreements for collaboration. And Young, I know I didn't cue you up on this one. If you could share the agreements for collaboration course that we have. So agreements are really important. How you work with vendors, how you work with your members, how you work with your partners. And so having those agreements really create that dialogue. And I love this process. This was developed by Stuart Raving. And in this process, he says, we have agreements and they end up in a drawer and it's just writing and it's not not used unless there's conflict. This is so different what I'm sharing with you right now. The agreements for collaboration is a dialogue. It's a conversation. There are 10 questions and you talk about what's our intention and vision. You talk about that big vision. And that's like the first thing that you set the stage for so that you know that you're going in the same direction. And what's beautiful is you hear from each person. If I'm doing an agreement with Tony, Tony's going to share her intention and vision. I'm going to share my intention and vision. And then we're going to bring that together as a whole. We talk about roles and responsibilities. We talk about how do we know if we're on track? Like, what are our milestones and accomplishments? And we can tie those to timelines and pieces like that. And one of the other pieces that I love about this is we talk about fears and concerns. And when I first got introduced to this, being an advocate for the law of attraction, I was like, but if you talk about your fears, you're attracting it. That's so untrue. If we don't talk about our fears, they can fester and manifest. And so when we talk about them, we can give voice to them and we can navigate it. It's been so beautiful when going through this process with individuals. And many times I've shared fears and it was just a perception that I didn't have all the information for, right? Or vice versa. And so that conversation about fears and concerns is, to me, one of the most powerful things that we can help navigate together. And then we talk about conflict. And a lot of organizations, I don't want to say a lot of organizations, I just know when it feels good, we don't think about conflict. And if we don't talk about it when it feels good and kind of create the map of, okay, let's say you have a business relationship, or let's say you want to shift gears, it's really important to discuss that now so you can agree upon how to navigate that change. And so, for example, with us and with our team, one of the things we say is, if you're upset about something, you let us know within 24 to 48 hours. I don't believe we want things to fester, right? like it's good to say, hey, Amanda, I've got a trigger and I just wanted to schedule some time to talk to you about it, right? Then Amanda's commitment is to make time available within the next 48 hours. She knows by me saying, I've got a conflict, I've got a trigger, whatever it is, that she's going to make time for me, right? That's saying our relationship is the most important thing. We're going to navigate this. And then when we get together, the first thing is we communicate about it. We don't communicate about all of the details of what went wrong. I mean, we can share, hey, I feel this. You can use the I statements. I noticed this. This is what's going on. But we really focus on the intention and the vision of where we're going and how to get back on track. If that doesn't work, the next piece that we go into, and this is just a piece that in our organization, is we go to the work of Byron Katie. Byron Katie gives all of this away for free. It's called Loving What Is. And she has 4 simple questions that for me, when I've had a conflict with another person and I'm not able to resolve it, when I go through this process, it helps me unwind maybe an old tape I have, a perception I have. And usually by step 2, we're done, right? Like we don't go beyond that, but there are those cases where you still have conflict. You're not able to resolve it. And again, this is why whatever your mechanism is in your community, you want to talk about it now. You want to have your team really solidified with you on how to navigate things when they're not feeling good about something. Because as you know, when you put poison in a river, what does it do? Kills all the fish. So then the third one is that we say we bring in a third party that's neutral, that can help us navigate and talk about it. And we select that person usually up front together when we feel good. And then the fourth one, if the third one doesn't work, is we bring in a mediator such as Stuart Levine or somebody that can help us, that's a professional at helping us resolve it. So this is just an example of how we like to look at conflict resolution, but you get to determine what that is. So in collaboration, when you start collaborating, look at those things for your community. What does that look like? If you're stepping into a new community, look at ways that you can collaborate. Look at ways that you can get involved. We love that. How can I support you? What are you up to next? And when you do that, you'll find that amazing things happen. All right. The 5th thing is consistency. We have to be consistent. People need to know with consistency builds trust. It's like a safety that people can count on. When you're making decisions, make decisions inclusive of your team. I have to tell you, before COVID, I did what I did, but I'm just going to share a scenario that I would have done differently. I did our big 13th Business Acceleration Summit, and we were in Orlando, and we had a very large Trailblazers and Collaborators community, and we were doing a retreat afterwards. And I had been working with two men for quite some time, and they had approached me saying, "Hey, can we help you do this event?" And one is one of the best event people that for closing sales, for building community, for helping people get their voice. And so to me, I was like thinking, oh my God, I got the Oprah of events with me. And I was really excited. And so we did the event, and I have to tell you, I didn't let our Trailblazer community know. And the Trailblazer community, some of them felt like they needed to protect me. Some of them felt like, he shouldn't have done the opening on stage. I mean, everybody had different emotions and feelings about what happened. And it created an undercurrent that really, I want to use the word toxic, but it was detrimental to the organization. And so what I learned is, hey, just pull them together. We get to ultimately decide what happens, but I should have let them know ahead of time, hey, we're making this little pivot. This is what's going on, so that they could have got their questions answered, because some of them thought, I didn't know this guy. Some of them didn't know that I'd work, like they had their own ideas and stories. And so, the big lesson that I learned was in that consistency. If we're making change, please make your team aware of what's going on. It's okay for you to make decisions, but if there is a big change, giving them that voice, giving them that opportunity to share, giving them that place to get questions answered, it could really help mitigate any challenges. Because we got to my house, we did a retreat, and it, it wasn't as I expected. And I take full ownership, because I didn't give people that felt like they were in my community that opportunity to be a part of the major changes. Now, I know in big corporations, and Dr. Ewan, you know this, like they make decisions and they just go with it, and you know, you don't get a say. For us individuals that may be wanting to build a community where people have a voice, which is a big part of our mission and vision, you know, that is essential. People get scared when they have unanswered questions. People create stories. And then when I say people, I do this too, right? That, you know, not everybody's trained to get curious. We're trained to, you know, let's put these blocks together and let's create a story around it. So really creating that consistency of communicating with them. That could be, you know, regular meetings. That could be regular emails. Now, remember, we talked about in communicating, it's good to communicate in many different ways. Always having a place where they can give you feedback. That's really important so that it's a two-way street, not just a one-way street, right? You always want to open that. When you're looking at consistency, you want to build a structure. You want to set a schedule. You know, some people I know that get excited about building community, they go right into doing it once a week. I've been there, done that personally. You know, it's a lot of work because each time you meet, that's an event. To me, there's more emails, there's more phone calls, but you feel into your heart what fits best for you. I like doing things at least once a month. I think that's a consistency. Some every 2 weeks, whatever it is that you're doing. Now, I know if I'm doing an event and I'm working with a team and a committee, we'll meet more often as we're getting to the finish line, right? We'll say, hey, we're getting close to this launch, or we're getting close to our goal, or whatever it is. We may move it up, but you need to have a consistent thing where your community comes together. They can connect with you. They can connect with your mission and vision. And again, every time you want to cast that vision, that is key. Just constantly, you know, cast the vision. And I also believe that it's good to ask them why they're here. We used to do the visionary and awards celebration, and I did this for a number of years. And I remember the first time people were like, okay, we need to get sponsorship. And I bought in a community, and it was so fascinating when you go around and you find out why people are there and what's important to them. It's like they feel more a part of what you're doing. There may be things that you can collaborate with them and help them with. And they're more likely to want to give because you're actually caring about what they're doing. And again, I know in big corporations, that's not always this, you know, depending on the size of your organization, but looking at who's here, many of you, you know, if you're under 1,000 people, there's still maybe those places where you can still connect with people and find out why are you here? What are you hoping to get out of this? Because in that, when I found out, I have to tell you, we were able, you know, one person wanted a chance to introduce somebody from stage. Somebody wanted to meet one of our speakers. Like, it was so fascinating. And like everybody that participated, we were able to make their desires come true. And at the same time, they were able to help us bring in more sponsors, produce the most incredible event ever. And that's where that collaboration piece and that give and take can really work magic. So set a schedule, events, emails, ask engaging questions. Engaging questions are so powerful. I'm a little nervous about saying this YouTuber, but I'm going to anyways, because some of his stuff, my kids introduced him to me when they were younger, and his name is Ray William Johnson. And he used to find YouTube videos, the top 3 viral YouTube videos, and kind of talk about them and spoof on them. But at the end of each video, he would ask a question. He'd say, leave your comment below. And I'm telling you, this guy got to millions and millions and millions of views. And then, you know, and then he would show the last question on the next video and give some of the answers. Just by asking engaging questions, he blew up. I mean, it was great, the videos, but anybody can see these videos on YouTube. I truly believe because he was engaging his community in a conversation, it was really, really powerful. So I want to open this up to see if any questions. I have a couple more things. Well, let me just ask you this. How many of you are building a community? If you can put thumbs up if you are building your own community. Well, do you guys see what those little icons are? in the chat? Yes, thumbs up. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. How many of you have your own database, your email database? Awesome, Yang. Thank you. So it's going to be important in building your community that you have that communication tool. You have, not just Google, it could be MailChimp, it could be Constant Contact. We use Builderall. Like, you want to have that place where you're building your community. Your list is your magic. Your list is the place where you can connect and share what's going on. Joy Grace, you have an amazing community. I've watched you, like, you have another Rolodex. You could be the $1 million Rolodex or contact list gal. But if you don't have that construct to get the emails in and get the addresses in, I really encourage you to do that. And yes, Katie Wagner, beautiful. That's one of the first steps. And again, if you determine what groups you're a part of, look at those groups also to see, I'm a part of the Dames, I'm a part of CEO Space, I'm a part of WPN. So those are organizations that I consider my community, and I'm in all of their communications. I find ways to collaborate, I find ways to connect, getting clear on that. So I'm going to open this up for questions, and then I want to share a little bit about some of the studying I did of community and some of the do's and don'ts. I just have a few stories that that hopefully will inspire you, but I just wanted to see if anybody have any questions before I share a couple of things. If you do, you can just unmute yourself.
So Shannon, can I share something really quick?
Sure.
Okay, I'll come. Give me a second. So I just wanted to say that I loved your agreements because we used them, and I loved your live.
Am I frozen or is she frozen?
Maybe she was.
Okay. Okay, Joy Grace, sorry, you're frozen. Oh. Okay, so she loved the agreements. We've used the agreements. Young, maybe you can put that in there again. It's really a powerful tool. So when I first started getting into community, I learned a few do's and don'ts. So many years ago, I became the president of the Cocoa Beach Business Improvement Council. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is such a cool opportunity. But they brought me in to do damage control. Basically, this 35-year organization, and this is all of the hotels and everything. You guys have heard of Cocoa Beach. They were all members of this organization to come together to help learn from each other. They had regular meetings, all the things that we're talking about in community they had. But they made a very poor decision, which put them to ground zero. They got political. They ended up getting very political and very much a voice box for politics. But in business, it is important to deal with politics, right? Like we're dealing with it. We pay taxes. We have things that are going on. And so when I came in, one of the things that I said was, we don't make that the forefront. We make a committee, right? So if somebody wants to deal with politics, they can choose to opt into that. And that can be a choice. So we didn't avoid what they needed. They just put that at the forefront. And it was, if people didn't agree, it became very divisive. And that's a lot of what's happening in the world right now. It's becoming very, very divisive. And so if if there's a political stance and you're building a community or an organization, try to keep that as a separate conversation, right? Try to keep that as a separate committee. What we ended up doing, which was powerful, is I remember I said, well, if we're going to deal with politics, we're going to have a separate committee. And they wanted the mayors. So we brought in all of the mayors to do a panel. So we gave everybody a voice so that everybody could make their own decision, right? Certain members may have had somebody they liked, Geo Roper. Some of you know he was actually running for mayor. So that was how I got to really get to know him. But what was so beautiful is that we still were able to carry out that mission, but it became more neutral because we gave everybody the opportunity to hear. So that was one of the things. The other community building story was, did you guys see the movie What's the Bleep? Some of you? Okay. So What's the Bleep is it's about quantum physics and, all kinds of powers that we have to create. And it's brought together by some of the most incredible people on the planet. If you haven't seen it yet, what the bleep do we know? And so we ended up doing a big conference here in Melbourne, Florida. We had a friend in South Florida that was doing a conference, and she said, you got to get What the Bleep to your show. And it was really beautiful. We kind of picked her brain on what was going on, but I got to be on the ground floor of What the Bleep before they went to the movies. And I have to tell you, some of the things that I learned was they created a street crew. So these were people, again, a separate list of people that were passionate about getting the movie out. They armed them with flyers. They armed them with, where the showings were. But this street crew, they had their separate meetings where they could come and plug into What's the Bleep movie producers, What's the Bleep leadership. It was such a beautiful way for them to have a grassroots movement of getting the movie out there. So I can't share this story without sharing our little fun hiccup and the power of the mind. So when we brought What the Bleep here, the woman in South Florida said that they showed up to her event and they didn't bring the movie, they only brought the trailer. So they said, please be careful, make sure that they bring the movie. So we did all the precautions. We had them send us the movie ahead of time. I mean, we talked openly about it. Hey, we don't want to have the same mistake, because she had to get security. I mean, it was such a costly mistake. It was a nightmare. So they got here and they sent us the movie ahead of time, but we never plugged it in. It was a trailer. The woman showed up to represent us. It was a trailer. So we had the theater full of people. We plug it in and it's the trailer. But this is what's so cool, is that somebody in the audience said, we all believe in the law of attraction. Why don't we just manifest the movie? And I'm there thinking, the movie's not even out on the market yet, right? Like all of the critical stuff is coming out. And all of a sudden, a woman gets up and she says, hey, who can give me a ride to my house? I know the producer. I have a copy of it at my house. So she went and got on the motorcycle, came back and brought it back. So it was just, anyways. So What the Bleep, that was another really powerful way that they got a movement out there. One of my favorites is the movie Bat Kid. And if you haven't watched the movie Bat Kid, grab your tissues because it's a tearjerker. But I watched it with two different hats. One was, this powerful, inspirational movie, but the other was from a marketing and building a movement. So we've all heard of, where kids are health challenged, Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? I think it was Make-A-Wish. So this kid always wanted to be Batman and save the city. And so to watch them, literally, it was like San Francisco get the entire city behind this kid, starting with one dream, one vision, not a huge amount of money. They were calling in, experts, people to help cast the vision. It is the most inspirational, beautiful story. But if you can look at it from the aspect of building community and building a movement, it's super powerful with a different set of eyes. And I think that I have a couple more things. I mean, another place where I studied community was music. And I used to go to open mics. And one of the things that I learned about music is music and a smile are universal ways of bringing people together. And I used to remember watching, we had a jazz club here and we would see bikers and business people get together on the stage and find that common way to connect. And so in your community, if there's ways that you can find those common threads, it really builds that glue. And I've loved open mics for that way, because it was just so beautiful to see, no matter whether you were good or bad or what, at that, it was like people just came there to co-create. One time there was like 21 people on there playing different instruments, and I'm just in tears going, this is community. This is the power of music. This is, we each in our communities have the ability to create that impact with people. And so for me, I love, many of you have been to our events, I use for building community, the Goose poem. And you've seen that where we talk about, geese fly in formation 71% faster in the V. If you haven't looked it up, or I'm happy to share with you, there's some really amazing things there in that. So we set the stage of collaboration. We set the stage of being with people when they're challenged. We set the stage of allowing people to share leadership, is what they talk about. The geese take turns, flying at the lead. They honk encouraging words. And so that's really how we showcase our piece of community. So I want to share in a minute a couple of ways to get involved in our community. Then we'll do a breakout room, but I just want to see if there's any other questions, any ahas. We have a couple of joint venture specialists on here, ladies, and I just want you to note Joyce White Nelson. She is incredible at creating joint ventures. And to me, joint ventures that's a community building activity. And what she's done in the world to put people together in a big way. I mean, she's looking for people that want to make an impact. And I know the people that she's introduced me to, I'm just like blown away in what she's involved with. And then Joy Grace Harmony is another individual who's, she's on a mission. Every time she says, hey, Shannon, I got this person to meet, I'm just like, okay, got to pay attention, because these individuals take the time to get to know you. They take time to get to know the other person, and they actually make those introductions, and they show up for the introductions. It's not just a pass off. If you get an introduction from Joyce White Nelson, it's like you show up, you be ready, and she's such a beautiful facilitator of building community in that way. So Joyce, do you mind putting you may not be taking clients, but do you mind putting your contact information? Everybody can put your contact information in there.
Thank you, Shannon. That was very gracious. I really appreciate it. And it's an honor. Thank you.
Well, it's very true. You are amazing. Okay, so let me get this other piece on. I want to tell you about our community, because if you're looking for a community to be a part of, we have our trailblazers and collaborators that come together in community. And so this is a great opportunity to, I don't know what's going on here, to be a part of a community and really get the support you need in business. Now, we are a business community. If you're looking, if you don't have a business and you're looking for a parenting community, I have great ideas. If you're looking for any other type of community, maybe there's a health, something that you're passionate about with health and wellness, then I'm happy to share that. Well, I guess I am not supposed to share this because it is giving me a bunch of challenges, and I'm not going to do that. So Yang, if you don't mind putting that information in the chat so that they can find it. This is our collaborators and trailblazers community. Our collaborators communities as little as $27 a month. We get together once a month for a mastermind. It's really a great time. We have some significant people there that are wonderful we've got Dr. Bob, one of the world leading brain researchers. He's garnered almost 20 million in grants. He's also done case studies. He's just really was with Landmark Education and Communication. We've got some dynamic people that come there, and we do our collaboration hot seat every month. So whatever you're working on, you get in that hot seat and we get to work with you. And then we have a ongoing Facebook group. Yes, Katie Wagner is a trailblazer. And then our trailblazers are for individuals that want more help. They want some one-on-one coaching. They want to, they're ready to accelerate their business and go to the next level. All right, so I'm going to cue this up, and we are going to get into some breakout rooms. And so we've got some small groups here. Let me see how much time we have. Okay. So when we get in the breakout rooms, oh, I'm just being reminded I have to tell you about one more thing. It's our Rockstar Wisdom Retreat. It's August 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's only for 12 people, and we already have 2 people that have secured spots. So we've got 10 left. This is where we're going to help you get absolute clarity on your next step. I've got a process that we go through that when we're done, you're going to clear off the things that are noise that aren't serving you, and you're going to get really clear on what's next for you. We also work in our collaboration hot seat on your pitch or a challenge that you have, and we have mentors that are flying in from all over to support that. And then we complete your 120-day, and it could be longer, but that's the minimum, our Media Magic Blueprint Marketing Plan. And we have a lot of fun. We swim in the ocean. We have great food. And so, Yang, if you don't mind putting that in the chat, if you're interested in meeting with me and getting to know a little bit more about it, I would love to connect and talk to you about it. We do take payments too. So, all right. So you're going to get into a small group. And when you get into the small group, this is your new friends and family. Some of you may know each other. Some of you are new. So this is your chance to share what you're up to, share what you're looking for next. We do want you to be quick, clear, and concise. We want everybody to have the opportunity to be able to go. We're going to allow, let's see here, looks like 3 minutes each, but it would be ideal if it's just 1 minute of talking and then 2 minutes of feedback or questions. Now, ideally, it's best for whoever is in the hot seat, whoever's sharing, that you just listen, right? Like the more God gave us 2 ears for a reason, and the more that you can just listen, that's where you're going to find the gems. Doesn't mean that you have to, all right, bye, Joyce. Doesn't mean that you have to take their advice, right? You can just take those gems and do with as you please. But ideally, if you're the giver, you want to be thinking about, who do I know? How can I support this person? Is there a way that I can collaborate with them? If you can't, then I'll scout for you. You might get off this call and get on with somebody else and find a way to connect with them. But put your contact information in the chat. And so let me move this around because we had somebody drop out. So I will move you here. Move to here. Move to here. Okay, great. And really, the magic is what you do afterwards. So for example, Katie Wagner, hey, Katie, I want to connect you with my cousin. Her name is Shamra, right? And then she's going to write down Shamra. I'm going to give her my information. We'll take that offline. She doesn't need to know that Shamra's dealt with death. She doesn't need, like we really want to, part of why this is high performance is we're just getting to the bottom line, and we're going to have more time afterwards. So any questions about this? You guys are great. Okay, so I have the timer all set. I gave an extra minute just to get situated, but find a timer when you get in there. The person with the longest hair goes first. So get a timer. Again, it's 1 minute to share who you are and what you're looking for next, or how we can support you. And then 2 minutes of you pouring into them. It could be feedback on their pitch. It could be, hey, I know this person. And then we'll switch. So we are ready. See you back here. And Yang, just don't join. I'll hang out here with you for a minute. All right, let me pause this, and I'm going to shut off the restream.